I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the News du Jour, a calmer space to consume the news. So I am on an emotional roller coaster today, you guys. I just dropped off my baby for his first day at daycare. I say just, it was hours ago, but he had his first day today and I'm super emotional about it. He's only going 1 day a week, so I don't even know if that counts as daycare. It's more like a Mother's Day out, but all the moms out there will get it. If you're not a mom, I'm sure you can imagine. It's just all the feelings. Anywho, I'm trying to plow ahead and just ignore the fact that this is happening. So let's get into the news. First up, we have a mini story. And this is a mini story that will become a longer story if it actually comes to fruition. But it's being said, it's being rumored that President Biden is considering returning to the practice of detaining migrant families who are trying to illegally cross the border. This would be very similar to policies that existed under Trump's rule of law, which is tough for some to swallow, given that President Biden had promised more humane treatment of migrants at the border during his 2020 presidential campaign. So if he goes forward, there's going to be people disappointed by this, but it will make him potentially more competitive against Republican opponents in the 2024 presidential elections and help him argue that he is bipartisan in some areas. So stay tuned to see if that comes to fruition.
Finding high-quality mental health care can be daunting and exhausting. That's why Cerebral offers convenient access to online mental health services, including therapy and medication management. Cerebral's diverse clinician team can help with anxiety, depression, insomnia, stress, grief, big life changes, and more. You can schedule and communicate with your care team through Cerebral's mobile app and attend your sessions from the comfort of your own home. Get started with or without insurance. Plus, you can now use FSA or HSA. Start your first month for 50% off at Cerebral.com/ACAST.
And for our first longer story today, U.S. flight attendants, as we've talked about before, are seeing way more crazy behavior from passengers. And most recently, someone full-on attacked them. So a passenger traveling from Los Angeles to Boston was really on another level, you guys, even by today's standards. Mid-flight, he actually attempted to open an emergency exit door and tried to stab a flight attendant with a broken metal spoon. And then he actually threatened to, quote, kill every man on this plane, end quote. Again, this was all happening mid-flight, as if flying itself wasn't anxiety-inducing enough on its own. The whole ordeal, though, only ended because fellow passengers literally tackled this man to the floor in order to subdue him, and then they were able to safely land in Boston. As soon as they landed, the man, Francisco Torres, age 33, was arrested immediately. He was charged with interference and attempted interference with a dangerous weapon. It appears he spent time in a mental hospital back in 2021. So it's possible that this situation had more to do with mental health than the frustrating times we live in right now, but who knows? At the end of the day, we all have to respect the orders of flight attendants while in the air, It's the law, and it's for our safety. And speaking of safety, our next story is about the Americans who were abducted in Mexico. So 4 Americans were abducted in Mexico last week, you guys. They think it actually might have been a case of mistaken identity. Members of a Mexican drug cartel actually loaded 4 Americans into a car at gunpoint, and this was captured on video footage. They were in Mexico for one of them to have a medical procedure done. It was cosmetic. And now all 4 of these Americans have been located, but only 2 of them were found alive. And of the 2 survivors, one of them is in critical condition and had to be rushed to the hospital. You see, authorities believe that these Mexican cartels actually mistook the American citizens for Haitian drug lords. They thought these people might be intruding on their turf, and thus they opened fire on them and then proceeded to load them into a van, as we saw on the video footage. These people must have been so freaking confused. You know, you're going to get some lipo, a nose job, a Brazilian butt lift, and all of a sudden you're being loaded into a van at gunpoint. So crazy. It is such a tragic event and honestly very uncommon for Americans to get caught in the middle of cartel violence. Let's hope that the 2 survivors get home soon and get the healing that they need and deserve. And then last up for today, we're discussing the suing of the state of Texas. So 5 women backed by abortion rights groups have announced that they are suing the state of Texas. They each faced conditions that made abortion medically necessary in order to protect their lives, and then were either denied these procedures or forced to wait to have them in further endangering their lives. So the Texas law that exists now about abortions claims to allow abortions when the mother's life is in danger. But it's left the language so vague that doctors in Texas are afraid to perform the procedure as they are worried about being sued. And women can face up to 99 years of jail time if they are convicted of having an abortion outside of these laws' restrictions. So these women who are suing are asking the courts to clarify the law and put more specifics into the law about when abortion is allowed and when it's not. The women coming forward are not the typical teenage mom that a lot of us have as the picture of abortion in our heads. They are actually already moms. Some of them are wives. Actually, all of them were wives. Some of them are already moms. They are trying to save their own lives, though, so that they can continue to mother their existing children, so that they can continue to be wives to their husbands, so they can live. They were all women who were excited to be pregnant, thrilled even. And in 2 of the instances, the fetuses had 0 chances of survival. They had no skulls, you guys. And in 2 of the other instances, they were threatening the lives of their twins. No one wanted these outcomes. And yet these women are now facing even more pain and challenges as they try to save their own lives so that they can have their healthy children. One of the women suing was not sick enough, quote unquote, for an abortion. So her healthcare provider forced her to wait, and now she is left with so much scar tissue that one of her fallopian tubes is permanently closed. This is such a good example of how medical professionals should always be consulting when making laws surrounding medical procedures. There are just so many intricacies that those of us who don't do this for a living would never understand or be able to predict. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote: "Be more concerned with your character than with your reputation, because character is who you are while reputation is simply who people think you are. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review or shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us be able to keep creating the news du jour. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfreemedia. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram and just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from Oklahoma.